The first time Stella felt it, the strange cold brushed against her skin. Stella looked around the church auditorium. The small afternoon sun was blazing outside. The heat was so intense that several members were fanning themselves with notebooks. Yet, the chill remained. It crawled up her arms and settled deep inside her bones. Then she noticed something. Pastor Daniel had just walked past her. The moment he moved farther away, the cold disappeared. Stella frowned. That was strange. She shook it off and continued arranging the Sunday school materials for the children's class. But the same thing happened again the following Sunday after service. As Stella reached out to shake his hand, the cold returned with such force that she nearly pulled away. For a brief moment, it felt as though she had touched a hand that had been resting inside a morgue. Pastor Daniel smiled warmly. "God bless you, Sister Stella." She forced a smile. "Amen, sir." As he walked away, warmth returned to her body. Stella stood there confused. Pastor Daniel was one of the most respected pastors in the ministry. Whenever he was scheduled to preach, members looked forward to his messages. His sermons were powerful. His prayer meetings attracted hundreds. People often shared testimonies about breakthrough after his ministrations. Nothing about him appeared suspicious. Yet, something deep inside Stella refused to settle. She was not the kind of person who jumped to conclusions. As a Sunday school teacher, she spent most of her time teaching children Bible lessons, preparing study notes, and helping new converts. She wasn't known for spreading rumors or accusing people, so she kept her concerns to herself. But then the dreams began. The first dream came on a Sunday night. She found herself standing in a quiet room. The room was filled with mourners dressed in black. At the center stood a coffin. Slowly, she moved closer. Her heart pounded. When she looked inside, she gasped. Pastor Daniel was lying there. His eyes were closed. His hands were folded across his chest. Stella woke up breathing heavily. The dream felt so real that she immediately knelt beside her bed and prayed, "Lord, every plan of untimely death is cancelled in Jesus' name." She believed God was warning her. The next night, the dream returned. Again, she saw the coffin. Again, Pastor Daniel was inside it. The third night was even worse. This time, she watched church members crying around the coffin while funeral songs played in the background. When she woke up, she was convinced Pastor Daniel was under spiritual attack. Stella began praying for him every morning and night. She never told him about the dreams because she didn't want to frighten him unnecessarily. Instead, she quietly interceded. Weeks passed, yet the dreams refused to stop. If anything, they became more frequent. At the same time, the strange coldness around him grew stronger. Sometimes, Stella would feel it before she even saw him. It was as though his presence announced itself through a sudden wave of freezing air. Still, she connected everything to the dreams. In her mind, both signs pointed towards the same danger, death. Then one Sunday, everything changed. The announcement came after service. Pastor Daniel had chosen a wife. Excitement erupted across the church. Members immediately began guessing who the lucky woman was. When the name was finally revealed, Stella froze. Jennifer, her best friend. The same Jennifer who often joked that she would never marry a pastor because she preferred a quiet life. Yet, there she stood, blushing as church members surrounded her with congratulations. That evening, Jennifer rushed to Stella's apartment. The excitement on her face was impossible to hide. The moment Stella opened the door, Jennifer screamed and pulled her into a hug. "He proposed!" Stella laughed. "I can see that." Jennifer dropped onto the couch. "You should have seen how he did it. Stella, it was beautiful." For nearly an hour, Jennifer talked non-stop. She described the proposal, the prayers, the plans they were already making, the future they imagined together. Stella listened patiently. She genuinely wanted her friend to be happy. But something strange happened during the conversation. As Jennifer spoke about Pastor Daniel, Stella suddenly felt that familiar coldness. Only this time, it was stronger. A chill swept through the room and settled over her like a heavy blanket. Her smile faded. Jennifer immediately noticed. "What's wrong?" Stella hesitated. "I don't know." The cold lingered. For the first time, fear stirred inside her. Not because Pastor Daniel was getting married, not because of the dreams, but because the strange warning she had been feeling for months suddenly seemed louder than ever before. And for the first time, Stella began to wonder if she had misunderstood the dreams completely. The next few weeks moved quickly. Before most church members could adjust to the news of the engagement, wedding discussions had already begun. Dates were being considered. Marriage counseling sessions had started. Plans were moving forward at a speed that made Stella uncomfortable. One evening, Jennifer visited her apartment carrying a notebook filled with wedding ideas. The excitement on her face was impossible to miss. "I still can't believe this is happening," Jennifer said, laughing as she flipped through the pages of decoration samples. Stella smiled. She wanted to share her friend's excitement, but the uneasiness inside her refused to leave. As Jennifer talked about venues and wedding colors, Stella decided to ask a simple question. "Have you met his family?" Jennifer paused. "No." Stella looked up. "No?" Jennifer shook her head. "He told me they all died years ago." The answer landed heavily in the room. "All of them?" Stella asked. "Yes." He said there was a fire accident. According to him, he lost everyone. For several seconds, Stella said nothing. A fire accident, a tragic story. Yet, something inside her immediately resisted it because the explanation felt rehearsed, too convenient, too final. "Have you ever seen pictures?" Stella asked. Jennifer frowned. "Pictures of what?" "His parents, his siblings, anyone." "No." "Any family friend?" Jennifer hesitated. "No." "Anyone from his hometown?" Again, Jennifer shook her head. Stella's concern deepened. The same uneasy feeling that always accompanied Pastor Daniel returned. She had spent months believing her dreams were warnings about death. Now, another possibility was beginning to form. What if the dreams were not warning her about what would happen to Pastor Daniel? What if they were trying to tell her something about who he already was? Jennifer noticed her expression. "You're doing it again." "Doing what?" "Looking worried." Stella leaned forward. "Jennifer, please, don't misunderstand me." "Then say what's on your mind." Stella chose her words carefully. "I think you should meet at least one member of his family before marrying him." Jennifer sighed immediately. "Stella, I'm serious." "He already explained what happened." "Then there should still be someone, a cousin, an aunt, a family friend, somebody." Jennifer shook her head. "You worry too much." But Stella refused to back down. For the next several days, she kept returning to the issue because she couldn't ignore the growing alarm inside her. Eventually, Jennifer agreed. Not because she shared Stella's concerns, simply because she was tired of the argument. That evening, she raised the matter during a meeting with Pastor Daniel. The pastor smiled calmly. My family situation is painful, Jennifer. I don't like revisiting those memories. Jennifer nodded, but I would still like to know more. Pastor Daniel opened his Bible. Sometimes we must leave the former things behind. He quoted several scriptures about moving forward and letting go of painful memories. By the time the conversation ended, Jennifer almost felt guilty for asking. When she told Stella about it later, Stella was frustrated. He answered with Bible verses? Jennifer shrugged. He said, God is my family now, but he didn't answer the question. The following week, Jennifer tried again. The response was similar. Another explanation, another diversion, another reason to avoid specifics. Weeks passed, yet every attempt led nowhere. At first, Jennifer defended him. Then, she became confused. Eventually, even she began noticing that every conversation somehow ended without an actual answer. For the first time, Jennifer became troubled. The next day, she confronted Pastor Daniel directly. If we are going to get married, I need to know your family. The pastor remained quiet for a long moment. Then, he finally nodded. All right. Jennifer blinked. Really? Yes. A smile appeared on his face. You deserve that. Relief washed over her. So, when can we go? I have a sister. The answer surprised her. A sister? She lives in South Africa. If meeting her will give you peace, I'll take you there. Excitement quickly replaced her doubt. When she called Stella that night, her voice was filled with relief. He agreed. What? He's taking me to meet his sister. For the first time in weeks, Stella felt hopeful. Maybe this journey would finally put all her fears to rest. A travel date was fixed. Within days, preparations were complete. The morning of the trip arrived. Jennifer and Pastor Daniel boarded their flight to South Africa. Throughout the journey, the pastor appeared completely relaxed. He laughed, he told stories, he spoke about ministry plans. Nothing about his behavior suggested he was hiding anything. By the time they landed, Jennifer felt embarrassed for ever doubting him. A few hours later, they arrived at a quiet residential neighborhood. She's inside, he said. Jennifer smiled nervously. For months, she had wanted this moment. Finally, she would meet someone from his past. Just as they approached the gate, the pastor's phone rang. He glanced at the screen. His expression changed. I need to take this, now. It's urgent. Jennifer nodded. Okay. He stepped aside while answering the call. As he walked away from the gate, he raised one finger. Please go inside. I will join you in a minute. Jennifer turned towards the house, took a deep breath, and knocked on the door. She had no idea that within the next hour, everything she believed about Pastor Daniel was about to collapse. The door opened almost immediately. A woman in her late 50s stood there. She studied Jennifer's face for a moment. Good afternoon, ma. Good afternoon. Jennifer smiled politely. My name is Jennifer. The woman nodded. How may I help you? Jennifer pointed towards the gate. I'm here with Pastor Daniel. The woman's expression remained unchanged. Pastor who? Pastor Daniel. The woman frowned. I am sorry, I don't know anyone by that name. Jennifer was confused. He said you are his sister. The woman's eyes narrowed. His sister? Yes, ma'am. I mean, your brother. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. The woman simply stared at her. Then she said quietly, Young lady, I think you've made a mistake. Jennifer's smile began to fade. No, ma, we came together. The woman shook her head. I don't know what you're talking about. Jennifer turned towards the direction Pastor Daniel had walked. She expected him to return at any moment, but he wasn't there. The woman started closing the door. "Sorry, you've got the wrong house." Panic flickered inside Jennifer. "Wait, please." The woman paused. "My fiancé brought me here." "Then call him." Jennifer immediately dialed his number. The call went through, then disconnected. She tried again. This time, the phone was switched off. Her stomach tightened. The woman folded her arms. "Young lady, I don't know who sent you here." Jennifer looked around desperately, but there was no sign of him. Not anywhere. Tears began forming in her eyes. "Please, ma, just listen to me." The woman sighed heavily. Jennifer quickly opened her handbag. "I have pictures." She opened a recent photograph, one taken after church service. Pastor Daniel stood beside her, smiling. She held out the screen. The woman's face froze. The color drained from her skin. Jennifer immediately noticed. The woman grabbed the phone. Her hands began trembling. "No!" She zoomed in on the picture, then stared harder. "No!" Jennifer's heartbeat accelerated. "You know him?" The woman looked up slowly. Fear had replaced the irritation on her face. "Where did you get this photograph?" Jennifer was confused. What do you mean?" "Answer me." "That's my fiancé." The woman's eyes filled with tears. For several moments, she couldn't speak. Then she whispered something under her breath. Jennifer couldn't hear it. "What is it?" The woman looked at her again. This time, there was pity in her eyes, a deep pity, the kind reserved for someone walking towards disaster without realizing it. "Come inside." Jennifer followed her into the house. They sat opposite each other. The woman placed the phone on the table, then took a long breath. The woman pointed to the photograph. "The man in this picture is my brother." Relief flooded Jennifer. Finally, proof. She knew Stella had worried for nothing. But then the woman continued. "My brother died 11 years ago." The room went silent. Jennifer blinked. "What?" "He died 11 years ago." "No!" The woman nodded slowly. "He was an evangelist." Jennifer stared at her. The words made no sense. "He traveled to a village for an evangelistic outreach. There was a confrontation between him and some villagers after he challenged one of their traditional practices." Her voice cracked. "The situation became violent. He was beaten badly." The woman looked away. "He never recovered." Jennifer shook her head repeatedly. No, that's not possible." The woman wiped her eyes. "Daniel was my only sibling." Her voice trembled as she spoke. "After our parents died, it was just the two of us. Losing him broke me. For years, I could barely function. Everywhere I went reminded me of him." She paused. "Eventually, I left Nigeria and moved to South Africa. I needed a fresh environment. I thought putting some distance between myself and those memories would help me heal. But some wounds never truly disappear. That's why seeing his face again after all these years frightened me." The woman disappeared briefly into another room. Moments later, she returned with an old family album and a funeral program. She placed it before Jennifer. Jennifer opened it. Her breath caught instantly. There he was, Pastor Daniel, younger, but unmistakably him. The same eyes, the same face, the same smile. Every picture contained the same man Jennifer had been planning to marry. Her hands began to shake. This can't be real. Then the woman showed her a photograph of his grave. The name on the headstone was clear, Daniel Adeyemi. Beneath it was a date from 11 years earlier. Jennifer's knees nearly buckled. Tears streamed down Jennifer's face. This is impossible. The woman was crying too. I know. Jennifer stared at the grave. Hours later, Jennifer sat on her flight home, unable to stop crying. She replayed every conversation she had ever had with Pastor Daniel. Every smile, every prayer, every promise. Nothing made sense anymore. The moment she landed, she went straight to Stella's apartment. Stella opened the door and immediately knew something was wrong. Jennifer looked like someone who had seen a nightmare while fully awake. Without saying a word, she stepped inside. Then she told Stella everything, from the missing pastor to the terrified sister to the photographs to the grave. As Jennifer spoke, Stella felt chills run through her body. Not the cold she usually felt around Pastor Daniel. Something else. The terrible realization that the warning she had been receiving for months had finally revealed its meaning. And both women knew there was only one thing left to do. The church had to know the truth. That same night, Stella and Jennifer informed a few trusted church leaders. At first, nobody believed them. How could they? Pastor Daniel had been leading the church for about 3 years. People had prayed with him, walked with him, traveled with him. The story sounded impossible, but Jennifer had photographs from South Africa. She had pictures of the grave. She had pictures from the sister's family album showing the same face years before the reported death. By the following day, whispers had begun spreading through the congregation. The whispers became discussions. The discussions became arguments. Soon, the entire church was talking about only one thing. Where was Pastor Daniel? Members called his phone. It remained switched off. Church members tried reaching him. Nothing. As Sunday approached, anticipation filled the church. Many arrived earlier than usual. Some came out of curiosity. Others came hoping the pastor would appear and explain everything. The auditorium was packed. People gathered in groups discussing the shocking story. Every few minutes, someone looked towards the entrance, expecting him to walk in. He never did. The service start time came and passed. Still no sign of him. An hour later, reality began settling in. Pastor Daniel was not coming. After the service, a group of church leaders and members went straight to his house. Jennifer, Stella, and several others followed. The gate was unlocked. The house appeared normal from the outside. But the moment they entered, confusion spread across their faces. The place was almost empty. No clothes, no personal photographs, nothing that revealed who had lived there. It looked less like a home and more like a place someone had temporarily occupied. People searched every room. Nothing. No trace. No clue. It was as though the man they knew had simply vanished from existence. Jennifer stood silently in the middle of the living room, struggling to hold back tears. Stella remained quiet. As she looked around the empty house, she finally understood why she had spent months seeing him inside a coffin. The dreams had never been warning her about a death that was coming. It had been revealing a death that had already happened. No one ever saw Pastor Daniel again. No one ever heard from him again. Jennifer struggled for months after the incident. The betrayal was difficult to process. Some days she questioned whether any of it had been real. She remembered the conversations they shared, the future they planned. For a long time, she blamed herself for ignoring the warnings Stella tried to give her. But Stella remained by her side. Gradually, Jennifer healed. She returned to church, rebuilt her confidence, and focused on her relationship with God. Though the experience left scars, she eventually found peace, knowing she had escaped a situation she still could not fully explain. And years later, members of the church still spoke about the pastor who preached powerful sermons, led hundreds of people, planned a wedding, and then disappeared the moment people discovered he had died 11 years earlier. I hope you enjoyed today's story. There is more to discover right here on your screen. Click to watch the next story now. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.